Hey guys, and welcome back to another Back 4 Blood video. I'm Game Advisor, and today we're going to be talking about a nightmare style build for a melee deck. Do keep in mind, a lot of these cards can be swapped out depending on how you like to play. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First off is Meth Head. Meth Head is an incredibly powerful card. It gives you 40% melee attack speed and 40% melee stamina efficiency. Your melee attacks will also no longer stick in tough enemies such as specials, so do keep this in mind as it'll allow you to swing through them and get even more hits on some of the other zombies around them. Meth Head is an absolute must for any powerful nightmare melee deck. After that, you have Face Your Fears. Now, Face Your Fears becomes incredibly powerful as the game continues on. This is because you gain 3 temporary health, and the reason that is so powerful is because whenever you kill the Rin within 2 meters and you get that temporary health can overlap your trauma damage. As long as you have temporary health, you cannot increase your current amount of trauma damage. This becomes incredibly potent if you have 50% or 30% trauma damage and you're just overlapping it as if it just didn't exist. I cannot tell you how important this card is. All I can do is say, please use it. You'll know when you use it what I mean. After that, we have Mean Drunk. This is just 75% melee damage, considering you're probably not going to be sprinting through levels very often, at least when we're trying to move through them quickly, but move through them with our team. This card becomes incredibly powerful. Your melee attacks also cause a cleave through enemies that deal damage in a large area, basically just making you hit even harder in a wider area on top of what you're already doing. I personally like the vertical weapons with this, as it allows me to hit more than one Zed and be able to take out zombies much quicker while also using something that hits very, very hard. Moving down is Adrenaline Fueled. This is an absolute must if you're not playing Holly, but even on Holly, it's still great to have. You just maybe could take it a little later. It increases your overall stamina by 100%, but reduces your stamina regeneration passive by 75%. But since we don't care about our passive stamina and we can't sprint anyways, whenever you kill an enemy, you're gonna get 10 stamina instantaneously, which is how much it usually costs to swing a melee weapon, and an additional 10 stamina over 5 seconds. If you're playing Holly, this is arguably not even needed as long as you're killing something with every swing. It's really more impactful when we're playing in situations where we need to take out specials or something like that, but at the end of the day, if you're not sprinting and you don't plan on sprinting anyways, this card just becomes incredibly powerful. Moving down is Berserker, which is going to give you 10% melee damage, 10% melee speed, and 5% move speed for each melee kill that you've had in the last 4 seconds. You'll notice what happens is you'll start swinging at kind of a normal speed, all of a sudden you'll start going faster, and then before you know it, you're swinging at light speed because you've just killed like 10 little Zeds and you're just pounding through a special faster than you can say, oops, it's dead. This card can do so much work for you. It can allow you to get through levels quicker, and since we can't sprint, that move speed does help in a lot of situations as well. Moving down to Motorcycle Helmet, at this stage we're starting to take significantly more damage, so in order to help our team out, we're going to want to get damage resistance and get additional health. That's because there's just more mobs and more things are going to be attacking us, so we need to be able to survive it as we go through these later stages. This is 15% damage resistance and 10 HP, and you just can't aim down sights, which we really don't care about since we're a melee character anyways, so it's an incredibly useful card. Continuing down the list, you have Numb, which is going to give you 15% additional damage resistance while you have that temporary health. And since we have Face Your Fears, this is basically going to always be active and give you a total of 30% damage resistance. Moving down the line again, we have Spiky Bits. This is 25% melee damage, which is again a very impactful card. It's just free damage to apply to enemies, and you get 10% damage resistance while using a melee weapon. And since that's the only thing we're using, we don't care about the ammo capacity decrease anyways, and we get 10% increased resistance pretty much all the time, boosting us now up to 40%. Breakout is also going to be a very useful card. You don't have to take this. I just usually like to. I don't always like to rely on my allies to save me, so I like to have the ability to save myself, which is why I have it here in the list. Of course, you can move this card really to anywhere you'd like, but at the end of the day, it's something useful. You don't have to even have it in your deck if you know who you're playing with and you trust your teammates to save you, but personally, I like to be able to save myself, which is why I've put it in this build. After that, we have Batter Up, which is just another 50% melee damage increase and plus 5 HP increase. You really can't complain much with that, as more melee damage and more health is just a positive thing for you to have. At this point, you should be burning through specials pretty darn fast with how much damage you're putting out. Also, do be careful, as if you hit a teammate, you can take them out in one shot in some cases. After that, we're moving down to Sunder. This card is again a optional card for you to take. Usually it depends on the act or mission you're on, whether or not it's even worth having, and that's because it makes it so that when you make a melee hit, it causes that target to take 20% increased damage for 5 seconds. Now do keep in mind that 20% is from all sources from all players, not just you. So if you do apply this to an enemy, say a boss of some kind, or say several specials that are coming in that you can't handle on your own, this will allow your team to suddenly pump out an increased amount of damage to help take them down faster. This is really good when you're doing like the end of Act 3 where you have a ton of ogres, and I won't spoil any other acts in case for some chance you haven't played them all yet, but at the end of the day, Sunder's a good card if you're dealing with specials or bosses whatsoever. Now after that is Padded Suit, which gives us an additional 10% damage resistance, moving us up to 50%, and yes, you could take this earlier if you feel you need to, but just keep in mind the fact that this is a really useful card even if you don't have access to Motorcycle Helmet yet. I do highly recommend you take Padded Suit. I believe you unlock it very, very early, and it's extremely important as we get later and later in the acts to have as much damage resistance as possible, and with this being the icing on the cake, we're now at a total of 50% damage reduction, which is half damage from all sources. Now, down here are really what I call the optional cards. These can be swapped out for many different things based on what you like, what you don't like. Maybe you want some more move speed in your deck early on, or stamina efficiency, or something else. I don't know. It's really up to you. This is where the customization for your deck I recommend would come in. One of the options I suggest is Battle Lust. It is nice to have that 2 extra health, but if you're getting a lot of value out of your extra 3 temporary health, you're really not going to see that much value out of Battle Lust. So it's arguable whether or not it's even worth taking. Just keep that in mind when you think, oh, why isn't Battle Lust in the deck? There is a reason for it. You can take it much earlier if you want to. You cannot take it at all if you want to. It can really fit anywhere, and it just depends on you as the player and how much damage you're taking. Moving down is Slugger, which will give you 5 HP, 10% melee stamina efficiency, which is kind of not a big deal by this point. Usually you'd take this card earlier on if you're going to take it, or it could be a substitute for another card. It also gives you 20% melee attack speed, which is what we really care about here, which is just essentially 20% additional damage on top of what we're already doing. So I like this card. Again, you don't have to take it. There's a lot of other options out there. Now finally is what is probably the most arguably valuable card in this deck to me, which is Down in Front. The reason I say that is because if you have a good team, you really don't have to worry about them shooting you in the back all the time. But if you're not confident, then you know what, since you're going to be the tank, you're in the front lines, you're meleeing things, just stay crouched down and take this card early on so that your teammates don't have to worry about shooting you. If your teammates are smart, like most people are, usually they all take Down in Front if they're planning on using guns. But also keep in mind, if you hit a teammate late in the game and don't have Down in Front, you can easily wipe them out in 2 swings, if not 1, on some lower HP cleaners when they're not taking a lot of health perks. So this card is debatable. I personally would actually run it somewhere up around the 4 or 5 slot and then just see how my game's going in solo queue as to whether or not I need to take it. But if I'm playing with my buddies, I just take it out of the deck and replace it with something else. I love it. It's a good card. It's just up to you guys. Well, that is my Nightmare Melee deck guide. If you liked it and you found it useful, let me know in the comments down below, or if you think maybe there's some cards I should be using instead, please feel free to give me some positive feedback. I'm always happy to take some constructive criticism and learn things that maybe I didn't know. Maybe there's some cards that are extremely powerful in Melee deck builds that I just don't have or didn't think to use. Hopefully you guys found this useful as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Game Advisor, and I'll see you next time.